This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings. Online at madeformorerealty.com.
Well, that was interesting, having Jan on.
Absolutely, just a wealth of information.
She talks so fast. There was so much information there.
Yeah.
So I hope people go to APIexchange.com, get some information. Tax deferral. Nobody likes paying more than they have to in taxes.
Absolutely not.
Give to Caesar what's Caesar's, but if you don't have to, it's not his.
Or move to Puerto Rico. What is it? Where's Brent Gove live?
Puerto Rico. Yeah, drop that federal tax burden down. I think it's like 4%-ish. But talking about real estate, though, I'm hearing a lot of questions. People are always asking me, well, what if my buyer backs out? What if I'm in contract? So there's two ways to look at this. One is the buyer. What if I'm in contract and I don't like the house? What do I do? Conversely, the seller is like, what if the buyer backs out? What do I do as now the seller? So let's just take that first one. So as the buyer, if you're purchasing a home, at least in California, you have so much protection, especially if your agent has filled out the forms correctly. Which you'd be
That's key.
Which is key. It sounds easy.
You had a lot of protection, but unfortunately, I forgot to sign line D, and you're out of luck.
They didn't check the box. They checked the wrong box.
Shoot.
Right? But as long as you have your contingencies in place, typically you can, back
How long
out.
do you have? Can you back out all the way until the last second before you finally sign that last piece of paper?
So there's contingencies and they have timelines and it's all identified. But what a lot of people don't realize is that so the contingencies are designed so the buyer can do their investigations on the property.
Right.
Every sale's as is. I get that. In case you don't know that, every sale isn't as a sale, but the buyer has the right to investigate the property and see, do I want to move forward with this sale? And when they do that, there's typically an appraisal contingency, a loan contingency, a home like an inspection contingency. Yeah. And also, the buyer has the opportunity to review the seller disclosures. So included in those seller disclosures is the agent visual inspection. So that's something that the listing agent, the person helping sell the house, has to complete. And there's the actual seller disclosures. There's so many pages of it. Regardless of if you've listed your contingencies, most people don't know this, regardless of if you've listed that home inspection contingency, that loan inspection contingency in writing, and you still have not received the seller disclosures, you have 5 days to review it. So if you can, and then you can back out based off something on those disclosures. So it's really important if you're the seller for you to complete those disclosures, for your agent to complete their agent visual inspection disclosure and get that to the buyer as quickly as possible once escrow is opened, because they have 5 days to review it. If they don't, and you lag and you forget, or you think you're too busy moving, you're too busy finding that replacement property, like life gets away from you, and you're like, oh, I forgot to do that, and you complete them and send them in, technically, the buyer could back out. They have 5 days to review that, and they could back out if they wanted to.
Okay.
So that's the little trick right there for buyers, right? Now, if you're a seller, you're kind of locked in that agreement. You can't cancel the agreement. Only the buyer can really cancel the agreement.
Really?
So
Interesting.
You can make it painful if they're not hitting certain milestones, right?
You can call up my cousin Vinny.
You can call up cousin Vinny. He'll show up with his black Lincoln and a baseball bat. But you're really locked in. So if another offer comes in that's better, and you've already accepted in writing, and you're
sure, absolutely, that makes sense.
It does make sense, but you are locked in. But let's say the seller, they want to sell the home to this buyer, and the buyer backs out. Well, now what?
What are the top reasons why people are backing out in the current climate we're in?
The number one reason you see is inspections.
The inspections. So when they put in an offer to the home, there have been no inspections done by the homeowner. Correct?
Sometimes,
but not full home inspections. And so once they get those reports, they notice, I didn't see that there was an issue with the plumbing or the foundation or something like that. Bigger issues that are not an easy fix.
Or that the seller didn't even know about. So for example, we're selling my grandparents' house in Salinas, and my grandpa took immaculate, like that house was in pristine condition. He had somebody come out every single month to spray for bugs even, and they found termites, right? And in the subflooring, there's a little leak in the subflooring. There's no way my grandpa knew that leak was there. If it did, it would have been fixed. But There's always surprises for both the buyer and sometimes the seller, right? In terms of those inspections. So the number one reason why people are backing out is because of those inspections. That's why we recommend you get the inspections as the homeowner done before you even go on the market. So that way I, as your listing agent, can say, hey, here, prospective buyer, here are all the inspections. Here, buyer's agent, here are all the inspections. So you can make an educated decision. The last thing you want to do is go on the market, accept an offer. Then we're required to change the status in the MLS so it shows it's pending. And then everybody moves on. And then if that buyer does back out, we have to change it back to active. And the number one question I get is, Johnny, what's wrong with the house? Why didn't it sell? There could be nothing wrong with the house, but unfortunately the buyer decided to back out. So the number one reason is based off those inspections. And the number two reason, I would say, it's not something you can really track, but I would say unethical agents are submitting multiple offers on properties. Like if their buyers in a desperate situation.
That makes sense.
And then they're hoping like they're good with these three houses.
Sure.
And then
but they've obviously got their favorite.
They have their favorite. And what if their favorite gets,
So they put in multiple offers. It gets accepted by the first offer, which they're excited about. But then, oh my goodness, their favorite house accepted the offer. And so they want to back out on the other one, right?
Here's a true story. So this was not or the seller takes too long to respond. So for example, we had a house, one of our agents had it listed in Rockland. Valerie's representing the buyers. They made an offer on the house on Friday, first day on the market. Valerie's quick. She knows speed is key to getting a good deal for her buyers. So they showed up the day it hit the market and came on the market, and they wrote an offer. Full price, let's do this. The seller said, well, it's the first day on the market. Let's wait through the weekend. Let's see what happens. We'll get back to you Monday or Tuesday. We're telling, because this is our agent that we're coaching along with the listing side. We're like, hey, if you do that, you might lose this buyer, right? They might lose this opportunity. Are they okay with that? Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, we're fine with that. They thought it would be an easy sell. Well, on Sunday, they found a house. These same buyers found a house that they really liked. And so they withdrew their offer on the house that they put an offer in on Friday, and they submitted an offer on a replacement property in Lincoln. Now that house is still sitting on the market. It never changed. We were never in contract, right? But they wouldn't have been looking at other houses. They wouldn't even
right.
if the seller would have accepted their offer.
Right.
So if the right offer comes in, pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. Accept the offer, right? Like don't think that you're going to get an extra $5,000
right
in today's economy. That's really rough.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're seeing in terms of the buyer side and the seller side. But it is a kiss of death. So you want to make sure that all the disclosures are done. You want to make sure that you have as many inspection reports to give these people as possible before you accept an offer, so that way there's no surprises mid-escrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you're starting over,
Starting over from square one, or you're starting from, negative one.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Because it's like, well, what's wrong with the property? There is typically a haircut that seller is going to have to take if the house goes back on the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So get the inspections done right ahead of time.
Yep.
Right. Make sure they're disclosed, and when the offers come in, they have all the information. And then make sure you're vetting the buyer. Make sure they have their financing already set up right before you accept the offer. Because then you're sitting around, you're waiting, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then when we come back, so that's what's happening if the buyer backs out of your house. Right, that's ways to avoid it. There's things you can do. If you do have to go back on the market, there's some marketing strategies that we'll touch on back after this.
Oh, life is complicated, right? That's why our good friend Johnny Jennings wants to make things easy, simple when it comes to selling your home. Listen to this. He's going to give you at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition, which means no staging, open houses, organizing, no costly repairs. Just again, 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. It's simple, it's easy, it's quick. All you got to do is Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty. Again, Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.